So the time has finally come. Early access games sometimes don't ever see the light of day, and other times take forever or are seemingly in endless states of alpha. But there are some titles that tend to actually make it all the way through their development cycle despite going into early access. And it's a controversial subject. A lot of people don't really care for early access games. Some people have been burnt and have said that they will never buy an early access game again. That's fine. I understand why, but it hasn't really prevented me from partaking in a few. There have been some notable titles that were in early access for quite some time but have recently come out of early access, and this is one of them. It's Darkest Dungeon, and it entered early access on Steam, let's say about a year ago. It was probably actually, I think, February that it first went on early access, and I picked it up a couple months after that. Heard a lot of good things about it, and that's typically what I tend to do. I don't really jump right on early access games the day they release. There have been a couple, but for the most part, I usually wait a little while, see if I can hear some feedback from friends and other people, see what they think, and see if it's worthwhile. This one, I felt was very worthwhile. It sounded great. It seemed right up my alley. It is a roguelike sort of game. It has a lot of RPG elements, and then some unique graphics, design choices. But yeah, it finally has hit full release as of today, and I figured I would go back and give it a whirl again. I played it a little while when I first picked it up, but I didn't want to get too far into it because they still hadn't added in a couple of the sections of the world, and they hadn't added in some of the quests or characters. There was a lot of stuff that was still not there yet. What was there was interesting and fun, but I didn't really want to put a lot of time into it, as I usually don't want to do with early access games. So, I've got about 5 hours into the game, because I only went back and checked it out a couple times when they added new things. But now that it is complete, feature complete, and full release, I figured it was time to give it another whirl, and I thought that I would record that and give some commentary insight into the game as I play it along. I won't be playing it for too long. It's just another quick look at a title that maybe you haven't heard of. I mean, I'm sure most gamers have heard of this game at this point. It was very well received and has had a lot of coverage on major gaming websites and other things like that. So, anyway, let's get started.
You will arrive along the old road. It winds with a troubling serpent-like suggestion through the corrupted countryside, leading only, I fear, to ever more tenebrous places. There is a sickness in the ancient pitted cobbles of the old road, and on its writhing path you will face viciousness, violence, and perhaps other damnably transcendent terrors. So steel yourself, and remember there can be no bravery without madness. The old road will take you to hell, but in that gaping abyss, we will find our redemption.
I have to say that I absolutely love the art style of this game. It's fantastic. And the whole Lovecraftian thing isn't bad either. So, when you start the game, you're stuck with just a couple party members, and they're the same two guys every time. your wagon has crashed. You're the owner of this manor that is cursed, and there's a bit of a backstory there, but I won't, go too depth on that. Basically, you got your couple characters. They have some abilities. They have some gear.
Brigands have run up these lanes. Keep to the side path. The hamlet is
There is a tutorial, of course, but I have already played far enough to know what's going on. This is what the majority of the game looks like. Your characters running around. You have your...
dispatch this thug in brutal fashion.
Well, let's do this battle here, and then we'll keep talking. So each guy is going to have some abilities, and it's going to be based on the position that they're in. See, now this ability here he can use as long as he's in one of the front positions. This one requires being in the 3 back positions, because you will get a party of 4, so these dots here on the abilities are representative of the ones on the left are what slots your character is in, and the ones on the right are what slots the enemy is in, because they can have up to groups of 4 as well. So for instance, this one, you have to be in the first 3 spaces, and you can only hit the first 2 spaces on their side. And then it gives you a basic idea of the damage it's going to do, and then if it applies any debuffs, anything like that. You have your health, you have your stress meter, which is also represented here, health and stress. As they become stressed, you begin to get some certain debuffs and other things that happen to your characters that can't be cured without certain other things, but we'll get more into that when we get to the town. So, it's turn-based combat. It's slightly tactical, but again, being a 2D and not being able to really control your movement, it's basically only tactical in what abilities you tend to use and things like that. So we're just going to go with a basic attack, get some cool animations. That happened to apply a bleed, which will do damage over time for 3 rounds, but he's going to be dead right now anyway.
Their formation is broken.
And then you get some gold, and then you move on. So you also have to worry about like your torch here. The higher your torch light is, the easier the game is. As the more darkness creeps in, you tend to have harder encounters and things like that. Brigands left some valuables, get some crap. It's usually just stuff that you can sell, and then you move on to the next room.
An ambush. Send these vermin a message. The rightful owner has returned, and their kind is no longer welcome.
So now some of these abilities, see how those dots are linked, it shows a link here as well. You can actually hit multiples with certain abilities. And sometimes that's good, other times you want to just focus fire. But enemies can do the same, and debuff you to where you can't dodge, things of that nature, so. For the most part at the beginning it's fairly easy, but at least back when it was still in early access, the difficulty ramped up really quickly, to the point where I didn't get very far in the game without having a bunch of guys die. But that seems to be the name of the game. It was designed to be rather difficult, that is.
The turning point.
That's another mechanic that's kind of annoying, is corpses ending up taking up spots, so you have to either clear them out or try to use abilities that allow you to get beyond them. Unfortunately, I don't have an ability with that guy, so it's left to this guy to blast this fool.
this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
Oh, of course. Alright. They also finally added achievements, so apparently completing that first mission gets you an achievement. It's part of the reason why I wanted to start over. So then at the end of the match, kind of shows you what spoils you earned. Then it will also show your XP, and then we'll let you know particular bonuses that they may have gotten at the end of it. Sometimes those are going to be debuffs and things dependent on their stress levels when completing the level. It can get really frustrating.
Such as it is. This squalid hamlet, these corrupted lands, they are yours now, and you are bound to them.
So, we're not actually one of these characters. Our character is supposedly just this guy that owns this hamlet. And then, currently, these are all the buildings that are in the game, but currently you only have access to these ones with the exclamation points. You have to complete quests to open up the rest, but like the tavern, the sanitarium, the abbey, those three are all good for stress relief, and each character has different personalities and things of that nature that allow them better stress relief dependent on which one. Like sometimes if they're an alcoholic, obviously you don't want to send them to the tavern because that's going to do bad things for them, and if they're not religious, you don't want to send them to the abbey, so on and so forth. And you can look at their stats here. Now see, this is a better area for me to show you the combat, their positions preferred, and then also you can double check with the abilities you have. Later on you can train some of these other skills and swap them out, but you can only have a certain amount at a certain time. And then there are some longer dungeons where you are able to camp, where you can use some of these other skills, though I have not utilize those and probably won't for a while. But see, these are their traits. See, that one just popped up. Got that for the last quest. See, he gets a bonus damage if the torch is well lit. Because he is a God-fearing person, he can only pray for stress relief. You can't send him to the tavern. You can't give him any sort of other way. And then he's also a klepto, meaning sometimes he will steal items when you are looting them, which is rather annoying. And my other guy is a cheater, so you're not allowed to gamble. And he has a couple other goodies there. Several different abilities, camping skills, resistances, yada yada. So those are your base characters. Then, if you go to the stagecoach,
women and men, soldiers and outlaws, fools and corpses. All will find their way to us now that the road is clear.
these are the only two heroes that are available at the moment. Eventually you can get upgrades. If you upgrade, you increase available heroes for each higher week. So in the event that you have deaths, and you will, you can have more people to choose from each week that may or may not be better or worse. You can also have a larger roster of guys that you already have recruited so that you can pick and choose who you want to take, because you want to have a nice balance of things. So for now we get these two. And you can check out their stuff. Now their preferred position, like I just put him in his preferred position. And ability wise, he can use all of his abilities in that position. We look at her. Her preferred position is the same spot, but see, she cannot use that ability from the back. He can't use he can use all of them, so I technically could actually put him down here. Put her up one. No. She needs in the back for that. But top front for that. So it's basically you kind of have to pick and choose. Eventually you can change some of these around, but her preferred position was there, and his preferred position was there too, but I can still use his abilities from the back. So that ends up being the best setup to make sure that all of my abilities are usable. It's kind of a pain in the butt to can't pay attention to all this stuff, but eventually it starts to make sense. I've played through a little bit well enough to where I know enough about it. Ooh, an achievement for visiting the graveyard. Wow, I feel accomplished.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my
Ancestors' Memoirs is basically just being, it's like a journal. You can look back on stuff that you've already seen. Graveyard will, view your dead and gone people. So, at this point, we have a full group and nothing else we can do here. So, it's time to go on an adventure. I see when the game first came out in early access, only the Ruins, the Weld, and the Warrens were available. So I played through parts of each, though I never got to a point where I beat any of the bosses or anything like that. Then eventually they added in the Cove. That was probably about 3-4 months ago, maybe a little longer. I went back and played it, just checked it out. It's a different, biome, so everything's a little bit different in that aspect. And the Darkest Dungeon is the newest addition to the game, and is supposed to be the hardest and basically end game. At this point, I have not played much of the game, so I haven't gotten far enough to where I've experienced all of it. But so for now, we have one quest available. This is the quest here. We need to explore 90% of the rooms. We get a reward of gold, some crests, and a bleed stone, which is a charm that you can apply to someone. So you build your party here, and then you provision them.
The cost of preparedness.
So you want to take different supplies dependent on the region you're going to, how long the quest is, and your own preferences, but always bring food and torches. When it says for your first short quest, try to bring 8 food and 4 torches. You need 8 food because it's 1 stack of food per person, and then 2 stack. That's basically 2 stacks each, so that in the event that you take a while and they start starving, you can feed them. We also already have a couple items in our inventory that we must have gotten out of that chest initially. Now, there are other items that you can take along, and sometimes bleeding, it can become a problem, so having a bandage is good. Herbs can cleanse certain debuffs. Antivenom takes care of poison. Keys are good in case you come across locks. And then holy water, which I've never used, so I'm not really sure what that does. And then shovels as well, to clear rubble, because if you don't have a shovel and you go to clear rubble, it actually damages your people, and they end up eating more food and things like that. So you kind of have to manage your resources, because sometimes you'll end up in a spot where you don't have the right resources and end up having deaths because of it, or can't finish the mission, and if you have to abandon the mission, it's kind of a pain in the butt. You end up getting more stress, and you don't get the rewards of the mission, and then you have even less money to work with when you try to go out on your next mission, so it's rather frustrating. So we'll bring that it actually recommended. I'm going to bring a couple bandages just in case, and a shovel, because I don't want to have those issues. The problem is that a lot of this you buy, and then at the end of the level, it's gone, and you have to re-buy everything over again. Though I think I remember reading somewhere that they've now you get some portion of the gold back. I'm not sure, but I just remember it being a problem in the past, and I think it may have been changed. I know a lot of the balancing has been changed, so perhaps this won't be as difficult as I remember. So here we are, the first dungeon, and this is the first room. So you'll see here, you have your map, inventory, map. Pretty basic layout. So, and because we need to explore 90% of the rooms, that means we can miss one room. So either that one or that one. Sometimes you get scouting, and then you're able to see what's in the room, so you can kind of pick the best way to go. Let's see, there we go, stress already. Alright, free torch. Typically, there'll be things like that. Oops. Some sort of item. Ambushes and other things like that. Alright, so... Oh, that's because they need to be in the back. I was wondering why that wasn't working. Apply some blight. So she's gonna heal. Illumination, which adds to the torch level. And basically her only attack, which is rather weak. But they're more of your utility characters. There's several other classes that we don't have access to begin with that are quite a bit more effective.
The slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving.
Either way, that was fairly easy and painless. Get some gold.
Brought low and driven into the mud.
Go figure, we get a shovel there. Didn't need to buy one. But that's okay. So, next room. Well, good thing I brought the shovel.
Cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
Did take a long time though, so that increased our stress. And our torch level dropped down. But I think we'll be okay. Ambush. Oh, we ambushed them. That's always good. Apply those debuffs, boys. Nice. If everybody's stunned, they can't do nothing.
A singular strike.
Oh, that one's actually an attack too. I thought it was just a upgrade for the torch.
Continue the onslaught.
Nice. Got two of them down in one shot.
Them.
And the damage over time took out the last. So see, as long as you combine their abilities, even though sometimes it doesn't seem like they're doing a whole lot of damage, they still manage to get enough dots and stuff on applied that it works out fairly well. Let's see, didn't get a scout, so we'll just go this way and hope for the best. Ah, you bastard. See, now that was his kleptomaniac quirk. He just stole that stuff from us. Ah, that's another debuff that sucks. Because you always want your tankiest person in the front, so that they take the brunt of the damage. But that's okay. I think we'll live through this. Nice.
As the enemy crumbles.
Oh, that's right. Okay, get her bandaged up. That's good.
A death by inches.
Chill, bro. It's fine. We got this.
Give them no quarter.
Well, that's no good. Huh, got a scout that time. So now it'll tell you that there's a trap that way. But nicely enough, I disarmed it. Not bad. Nothing in this room. So we get to move along. Ah, you bastard, you're gonna steal it again. Yeah, he's gonna be the first guy that gets kicked out of this party. Can't stand the thieves. Alright. It's time to eat.
Terrors may indeed stalk these shadows, but yonder, a glint of gold.
Obstacle. Well, thankfully I do have that extra shovel.
Without tools of iron, you must rely on flesh and indefatigable purpose. Exposed to a killing blow.
That is not good. So her stress got up high enough to where now it was a test of... so that actually wasn't too bad. So when heroes can't take any stress anymore, they become afflicted. This manifests into different behaviors and stat changes. Afflictions last until you send them to treatment in town, which is those buildings that I was talking about earlier. So at this point, we have to try and bust through. Oh god, those heals are not good enough. Okay, got the stun off.
formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Yeah. Seems like the stress levels are still pretty annoying. Ah. Don't need you to miss, I need you to hit. Especially when she's gonna die if I don't get this done. Thankfully that blight's putting in some work.
Gently. This is how a life is taken.
Okay. I think we're square now. Done and done.
Falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Alright. See, now sometimes you get a positive buff,
Anger is power.
and then his stress drops, which it never used to do. So that's a change. That becomes virtuous or heroic. They get stat bonuses and whatnot. She got masochism, which wasn't good, but didn't end up doing too much. And an achievement for the first quest completed. Now, see, yeah, you do get a potion back of what stuff you did. And the heirlooms are what you use to do some of your upgrades. And we get to see the final results here. Another buff for him. The bastard keeps stealing my stuff. Another buff. That's a good buff, but that one's not. And he got nothing. And that's that.
I see something long absent in the sunken faces of passers-by. A glimmer
And then there's the
of hope.
negative quirks. And then there's your quest log here, which is basically just some things that you can look towards. Now that I completed a quest, the tavern and the abbey have opened, which means I can use that to get rid of stress. And because she is already pretty well in the negative,
The pews
I need to
set
use
straight.
her
The abbey calls to the
here.
faithful.
Since she's a masochist. I think that'll do just fine. But now that she is being relieved of her stresses, I am no longer able to use her, which means I need to come back here. Well, let's go to the tavern real quick, just so that this goes away.
Cards and certain
See those
rooms promise
other
a
items that
solace
I've gotten
to the
here,
weary and
crests,
broken alike.
bust, portraits, deeds, and crests. Those are what you use here to do upgrades. But I don't need anything there. What I do need, though, is to check this. And I think we'll upgrade this too while we're here. Increases the number of heroes to 3. Yes, we want to do that. We don't need the roster upgrade yet.
Cities. We can use this.
Bounty
The
hunter
thrill of the hunt,
and another Vestal.
the promise of payment.
Since she's not there, I can use this one instead. Though, she has different abilities. Oh, same heal. Just one different ability. putting her in the back would be okay. And then there's the bounty hunter here, who has some different abilities. He's actually tanky, so I think I may use him in the stead of Reynauld here, because he is not a Klepto. So let's see. Well, I think at that point, that's a generalized, pretty decent idea, or good look at what the game entails, the different things that you can check out. Oh yes, trinket. Forgot about that. Gives him an extra bleed skill chance, which he already has some bleed skills, so it's helpful. The glossary gives you some helpful tips. That's the options. Yeah, so that gives you guys a pretty decent idea of what the game entails. And it's really just more of that over and over again. But obviously more difficult as time goes on. Eventually there's some boss battles. Death is permanent for these guys. If they do fail some of their stress checks later on, they can have heart attacks and just die right there on the spot. So yeah, it's difficult, it can be punishing, but it is a fun game, and I would definitely recommend it for anyone who likes RPGs, roguelikes, things of that nature. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I convinced some of you to maybe pick up this game, because it is definitely a cool title. I'd appreciate likes, subscribes, shares, anything of that nature, because I am still trying to build my YouTube channel, and it is slow going, but I am determined to keep going with it, because I'd like to have somewhat of a following at some point. But yeah, that's it for me for today, and I'll catch you guys later.